What common sense is actually wrong? Running hot water to pour grease down the sink drain. That water always cools eventually and usually the same distance down the drain where it solidifies, creating a blockage. Although it's best to never put grease down the drain, if you run cold water and run the garbage disposal, the grease will solidify when it hits the cold water. The disposal will chop it up into tiny pieces and it will float down the line, creating no blockage. Municipal water and sewer worker of 15 years here. Pouring grease down the drain is never a good thing for your pipes or the system. Grease passes through the body the same way it goes in, relatively speaking. As a young man working fast food, loading up the fryers with fresh oil after cleaning and changing, it starts as a huge 50-pound white block of oil. As a sewer worker, one of the main system problems is grease buildup in customer laterals and system mains. It clings to the walls, a sticky white globular substance that is difficult to remove. Over time, it solidifies into a rock-like substance, similar to the hardness of weak shale stone. Many times, high-pressure water is not enough to remove it, and the application of chemicals that create a thermal reaction are needed to dissolve it and move it down to the lift station where it can be vacuumed out. Pouring grease with soap or detergent with hot water while running a garbage disposal does nothing for the grease. Any action it has, the grease will reform. Hot water liquefies the grease, soap does break it up, but dissipates, and breaking it into smaller pieces, it only congeals and clumps back together. Garbage disposals in general are horrible devices and in my experience are a leading problem, second to tree roots as a cause of blockages. They give the impression that as long as you can emacerate anything, it can be flushed down a drain. If you think you need to add hot water, detergent, or run the garbage disposal to flush something down the drain, you shouldn't put it down the drain. If it does make it past your pipes, it's only going to jam up somewhere else down the line. While I'm not sure there are better ways to dispose of grease than rinsing it down your pipes. I always pour mine into an old milk jug, cap it, and then throw it in the trash. Story 2. The harder you brush, the cleaner your teeth get. All you're going to do is cause gum recession. Brush with a soft bristle brush for 2 to 3 minutes. Don't do side-to-side motion. Make small circles on the surfaces of the teeth. Flick away from the gum line with short strokes and vibrate the toothbrush near the gum line at a 45-degree angle from the tooth. Electric toothbrushes are great. They're less technique sensitive and you just hold it over a tooth for 5 to 10 seconds without back and forth motion. Don't stick your toothbrush near your toilet for obvious yet never thought about reasons. To minimize poop ingestion, stick it in a drawer or get a cover for your brush. Story 3. A lot of nutrition common sense is based on nothing and or has never been proven. I chalk it up to the fact that the human body is more adaptable than anyone gives it credit for, and that goes for diet as well as a lot of other things. That and people think they can find solutions through dietary inclusions, exclusions, or they look towards those things as something to blame health problems on. It also doesn't help that literally anyone can call themselves a nutritionist and write articles about nutrition. The average person sees that and thinks it implies credibility, but that would be a registered dietitian. Instead, there are tons of nutritionists out there spewing their own anecdotal experiences or personal beliefs as fact, when in reality, as you sort of alluded to, everyone's body is different and beyond the incredibly obvious things, there are very few nutritional practices that will suit everyone best. Takes a decent amount of time and a lot of forethought to craft an excellent diet plan, assuming your diet is meant to build muscle or lose weight. Took me a few days to plan out everything with nutrition versus caloric needs, then to figure out how to exactly cook and preserve it for meal prepping so it's time effective as well. Which is why it drives me up a wall to see Instagram fit models push their BS, their supplements, their clothes, their dog crap form half the time. There's no magic bullet other than balancing your diet and persistence. Story 4. Just because you're not fat doesn't mean you're in good shape. My best friend is vegan. My best friend is also a big curvy woman. My best friend cannot roll her eyes hard enough when she hears people ignorantly proclaim that fat vegans don't exist because vegan equals healthy equals thin. I can give you a list of candy and junk food that's vegan. Vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Vegan just means there's no animal byproducts or ingredients used to make the food. There are lots of high-calorie foods that happen to also be vegan-friendly. It's a common misconception that vegans typically eat quote unquote clean and lower calorie foods. Not true. The whole point of my comment is to point out that there is a lot of junk food that most people don't realize is also vegan. As others have pointed out, there is a sort of Venn diagram crossover between people who eat healthy diets and people who eat vegan, but the two do not have to intersect. My best friend happens to be vegan for ethical reasons. She doesn't want to support the inhumane meat industry or animal testing/use of animal byproducts in beauty and body products. My vegan friend also ate Oreos probably at least 2 to 3 times a week. I believe you. Story 5. When you see an emergency vehicle with sirens on behind you, you should always slow down and move to the lane or shoulder to your right. This is exactly what you should do on city roads, but on the highway, you should never brake for an emergency vehicle unless they're pulling you over or you're slowing for a stopped vehicle. Braking in front of an ambulance just slows them down and creates traffic jams. Maintain your speed and get your signal on and merge as soon as you can. And for God's sake, stop slamming on your brakes to avoid a speeding ticket when you see a cop. Just take your lead foot off the gas and slow naturally. Driving with y'all is scary. Most, if not all, radar detectors are line of sight, meaning the sensor that's sending the radar signal, it's like an invisible wave to your car, needs to physically reach your car and bounce back to the sensor. Police are measuring that radar signal's time it takes to bounce off your car, then come back to the sensor. So assuming you're paying attention and don't have an obstructed view, you will see the police right when they are taking your speed. Also, some older units, non-laser, take a few milliseconds to seconds to lock onto a speed. If you are decreasing speed during this lock phase, the radar can sometimes lock onto a lower speed. That said, I still don't advise braking when you see police, but not because they already clocked you, because it makes you look guilty and is potentially dangerous. Your car's front hood will go down, then back up, indicating you're braking even if police can't see your taillights. Some people aren't even watching the radar. They just wait to hear a certain tone indicating a high speed or an alarm which is set for a certain speed. If you brake sharply and cause a screech, though, that will definitely also get their attention. Also, move to the right or just stay away where you are. We'll get around you. Too often, people move into my way than actually getting out of it. If you are truly blocking us, we'll blow our horn at you and give hand gestures, so just pay attention. Lastly, don't cause an accident trying to move out of the way. Crazy enough, this has also been a problem. Story 6. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Psychologists actually show that it's the reverse, which is why LDR is very hard. Out of sight, out of mind is more accurate. Love my best friend, but we live in different cities and that's a good thing. He and I are very different, and when we hang out, he tries to parent me. It drives me nuts. I love him so much, though, and he is awesome. We are just different people. Same with my mom. She is a goddamn angel, but when I spend a lot of time with her, I notice she does not really ask about my life or listen to much of what I say. Story 7. That people are good eyewitnesses. We aren't. Our perceptions of things sucks. We are prone to so many biases that we aren't even aware of it. If I grade papers on an empty stomach, I will grade them lower than if I am not hungry. And I will never admit that to be true, even though it is. I was told by a story by my forensics teacher a few years ago. It's been some time since I've heard it, so some details are fuzzy. My forensics teacher was going out with friends one day. After a day at the mall, their car was only one of a few in the parking lot. It was late-ish at night, so they all hurried to the car. As they were about to drive away, a drunk guy came up to the car and pulled a weapon on him. Keep in mind that they all saw the dude's face, they got away fine, and reported the incident to the police. When asked to describe the perpetrator, all three of them gave a different description, despite the fact that they all saw the same guy at the same time from relatively the same angle. Human brains are weird. I once ran across the street to help a woman who was lying on the ground. She got up and ran away, and a few minutes later, the police showed up and I told them which way she went. They asked me for a description. A few minutes later, I passed her again while walking up the block. The only thing I got right was her hair color and that she was wearing a dark shade. I thought she was wearing a winter jacket, but she really just had a hoodie on, though she was wearing jeans and winter boots, but it was black leggings and sneakers. I was kneeling beside her and had my hand on her back before she ran off, and I still couldn't accurately tell what she was wearing. Being asked to describe someone might make you worse at recognizing them too. Think about it. Something about the process of describing them interferes with your memories of them. Now think about how many people are behind bars only based on eyewitness testimony. So hey, if you're liking these stories, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel because it really does help me out. Thank you for watching so far. Let's go ahead and get back to the stories. Story 8. If you're passionate about what you do, you won't work a day in your life. Wrong. It's still really hard work even though you enjoy it, and to make matters worse, you might work so hard to the point where you end up hating the thing you loved. I do also want to point out that I don't ever want to discourage someone from pursuing their passions. I just want to make sure they're aware of the risks so they have a better grasp of these issues that may come along and they can better deal with it. I feel like I need to say something additionally just for this. Here's my favorite quote. Motivation gets you started, but discipline is what keeps you going. It's pretty easy to start something because you're excited about it, but the only way you're going to see it to fruition is if you have the discipline to keep working even when your motivation runs out. I am pretty sure that I read a psychology paper that it isn't that you begin to hate what you do, but it is that you become so efficient at what you enjoy that you do not get the same level of dopamine from doing it, related to the final outcome of why you are doing something usually financial or physical. The paper summed up that our brains need to continually change what is the dopamine trigger on what we enjoy most for us to continue to enjoy that. In my instance, I hate coding, but changing the dopamine trigger from I code to helping others code and guiding them through their issues has made me fall in love with what I am doing again. Story 9. Quote, if you're in a relationship but develop feelings for someone else, break up with them because if you truly love them, you wouldn't love the second person. Unquote. BS, just don't cheat. Don't have an emotional affair, but figure out what's going on in your heart and your head before throwing away a loving relationship over a crush. One size does not fit all. The point of this is to say that before you started dating your SO, you had a crush on them. You didn't know where it was going, but you started dating to find out and it turned into a relationship. Interest is not the same as a relationship, but it's totally possible to have interest in people even when you're in a relationship. And it doesn't mean you should 100% end the relationship when this happens because it could mean literally nothing. That's for you to decide. Also, talking to your partner is important. That's what I did when it became too confusing, and I wish I'd talked to them sooner. They are human too, right? Or aliens, I don't know you. And even if they haven't experienced it, they should understand it. Yes, it sucks to be the SO in this situation, but it would suck more if you insisted your girlfriend of 2 years leave you because she thinks the new guy at work is cute. What you do about your feelings is vastly more important than your feelings themselves. Also, polyamorous relationships are a thing. This is often said by people obsessed with the idea that everyone has quote-unquote the one. No one has just one person just made for them. You can love lots of people. You can get along with lots of people. You might love multiple people at once or no one at all. All of these are perfectly acceptable and normal. The only thing not normal and acceptable is hurting people you love because you can't keep it in your pants if you and your partner want that. Story 10. If you are stern with a person, a retail worker, a food worker, whatever, you will get what you want. We are more likely to bend over backwards to help you out if you are polite and kind, and not really likely to do it if you come in assuming your time is more important than ours or that the world revolves around you. I work in retail and have so many people who literally just walk in, make a beeline for the registers, and ask the cashier, "Do you have any coupons for me?" Or when something doesn't go quite the way they wanted and they demand something for free for their trouble. We always say no to those people and usually save the coupons for those who are here out of inconvenience, for example, exchanging a defective item, waiting for the computer to be repaired, but also if they didn't ask for it. I tend to find that the coupon/freebie is appreciated much more by those who weren't expecting it. Story 11. Here's a few. First, good things always come to those who wait. Nope, No, they don't. You need to be proactive. If you keep sitting on your bum, nothing is going to happen. Second, just throw your garbage in the parking lot. The cart people will pick it up. I mean, it's true, but at the same time, screw you from the cart people. Third, just be honest with them. Not everyone appreciates honesty. Looking at you, Janice. Fourth, negative life experiences make you a better/stronger person. Fifth, that venting your anger is helpful, like punching a pillow or screaming into the pillow. Science actually shows you're much better off calming yourself down or straight up ignoring the issue until you can handle it calmly. The less you react to the anger, the more you train your brain to be calm when frustrated. The more you hit and scream, the more you train yourself to indulge the anger and hit and scream at others when angry. So, yes, go to bed angry. A good nap or a good night's sleep will help you calm down. 6. Sugar rushes are real. I did some research, some Googling, and they aren't real. I always noticed that when I had sugar, I never felt any more energetic, yet everyone still seemed to believe it. Seventh, electricity flows from positive to negative. Wrong. Electrons are negatively charged. They flow from negative to positive. Oh, and you can't be electrocuted from a car battery, even with wet sponges, torture style. Eighth, be courteous on the road. Don't do that. Just drive correctly and everyone will be happy enough. I'm not telling you to be an a-hole driver, but every time you slow way down to let someone in front of you, there's someone behind you that thinks you're being an a-hole. It's better to drive predictable than be courteous, easier for everyone. Ninth, everyone deserves a second chance. Heck no. 10th, what pissed me off the most at school was when the teacher said, if someone told you to jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff? 11th, if you have a nosebleed, tipping your head back is a good way to get blood to run down into your mouth. Instead, lean your head forward while putting pressure on the bleeding. 12, there are two sides to every issue. No, sometimes there's correct and based in fact and nonsense someone got from a website. 13th, go with your gut. You should think things through first and not automatically go with your gut instinct. 14th, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words can definitely hurt, and they can hurt to the point where I'd rather you have just a broken tibia or something instead. And 15th, sometimes when someone is having a bad day, it's better to just listen and agree rather than offer logical advice. Story 12. When I worked in spectator event safety, we learned, Sport Stadia, that when an evacuation is happening, the safest place to go is to the playing field, as it is usually open air and therefore low risk if it is a fire evacuation. However, common sense takes over crowd dynamics and people try leaving the way they came in, from the other side of the building. So this common sense trait results in thousands of people flocking into burning buildings. An example of this was the Bradford City Stadium fire. A huge chunk of the crowd headed back into the burning stadium looking for exits despite open air, the pitch being meters in front of them. Story 13. Common sense says the sun isn't out and it is cool outside. You don't have to worry about sunburns. Worst sunburn I ever got. I remember reading that 80% of the sun's harmful rays escape through the cloud layer. My source, a poster in my dermatologist's office. I also learned that when there's snow on the ground, you can actually get sunburnt worse due to the reflection of the rays from the snow. Same type of concept with swimming as well. Skiers need to wear UV goggles to avoid getting snow blindness caused by the high amounts of reflected light from the snow. I know, I didn't know that either. Story 14. Also, life is easier when you're young, or youth is the best years of your life. Growing up, everyone always said, this is the best time of your life, enjoy it while you can. They were super wrong. I hated school, hated being a student, hated the lack of freedom. I work 50-ish, it varies 40, 72, but 52 is most common hours a week, and it's great. I have money, freedom, I do what I want. Being a kid sucked. You will seriously look back on schooling days and wonder if any of it was really enjoyable. I personally enjoyed college since I was able to make a ton of friends working in a food court, but some people don't like college either. It gets significantly better afterwards, really. Story 15. Probably not the answer you're looking for, but the notion that darker roasts of coffee are higher in caffeine content. They're not. The caffeine gets cooked out the longer you roast a coffee bean. The lighter the roast, the higher the caffeine content. The difference in caffeine content between roasts being negligible and discrepancies between the density/weight of the coffee bean when roasted. My point is, dark roast does not equal more caffeine. When I worked at the gas station, this guy was like, "Which coffee is the strongest?" And I said, "In flavor or caffeine content?" And when he said, "Both," and I told him to do our medium roast, and he said, "No, I want the dark roast." And years later, I'm still being bothered because he thinks he's right. He's off somewhere in rural Minnesota thinking he's hyped the heck up on his sludge coffee. And I hate it. Also, my dad, his argument was that dark roasts have more caffeine for the same reason that dark chocolate has more caffeine. Nope. Dark roasts are dark because they've been roasted more, or the caffeine was burned away during the roasting process. Dark chocolate is dark because it has a higher cacao content, and cacao is where it gets its caffeine. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the next one. What unethical life hack can you share? Story 5 might just work, but you gotta hear it before you try it out. I'll see you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.